On Tech News Today, Samsung's going to take on Apple Pay and Google Wallet. And Apple is accused of an industry-wide battery brain drain. We've got great journalists from NPR, The Wall Street Journal, Reuters, and the Next Web, so stick around. Tech News Today is next.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, February 19th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Shutterstock.com. With over 46 million high-quality stock photos, illustrations, vectors, and video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. For 20% off image subscription packages on your new account, go to Shutterstock.com and use offer code TNT215. And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 50-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. Tech News Today is a show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Welcome to the show. I'm Mike Elgan, and joining us as co-anchor is NPR technology and culture reporter Elise Hugh. How you doing, Elise?
I'm doing well, Mike. It's great to see you and great to be back this Thursday.
Great to see you, too. It looks like the NPR newsroom has made some upgrades. I like it a lot better. Get rid of all those people and put in some kitchen equipment. I love it.
Really good art.
Yes, really good art. Your daughter did that with her feet, you said.
Trying to make sure that you guys can see it okay. Yes, there you go.
It's beautiful. You should sell T-shirts and coffee mugs based on that pattern. I love it. Very nice. Well, let's do the tech news. Why not? Samsung has acquired the mobile payments company LoopPay, which is a competing platform to Apple Pay and Google Wallet. Geoffrey Fowler is a personal technology columnist for The Wall Street Journal and joins us now. Welcome to you, Geoffrey.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Now, LoopPay's big difference is that it doesn't require NFC technology. How does LoopPay handle the point of sale without NFC? And does it also, in addition to that, support NFC?
Right. Well, your first question is, it's a little bit magical, actually. Instead of putting out some kind of signal like NFC that retailers have to build into their systems in the store, it actually just puts out a kind of magnetic pulse. Here, I've got an earlier version of.
We're going to recall you back, Geoffrey, if you can hear me now. Skype is apparently out to get us.
Okay.
As usual. So we're gonna call you right back, and hopefully the next connection will be good. What he was showing us was the fact that LoopPay has these cases. There are multiple ways to use it, actually, but it requires a case that essentially simulates the credit card magnetic swiping mechanism, and that gives it a huge advantage over the other solutions that require NFC, which of course aren't supported at all retail locations. Jason, do we have Geoffrey back? Okay, Geoffrey, welcome back. Now you were demonstrating for us the device that you have that supports LoopPay. Can you continue, please?
Sure. Yeah. So this is one of their latest cases that you can buy for about $60. It fits on an iPhone. This one, and what it does is it's got this little card on it that you can slip in or out. And you can use this to just hold up to the regular magnetic card swipe reader on in the store that you're at, and the payment will go through as if you're swiping. Now that's great because you can make payments with your phone in lots more places. The downside to it right now is you kind of have to be an ambassador for this technology to the store. When I've been trying this around town here in San Francisco, got a lot of strange looks from storekeepers who think I'm kind of lurching forward, maybe trying to rip them off or something. So it's a little awkward, but you could imagine that if Samsung found a way to build this technology into their phone so it didn't require you to carry something extra, and they also marketed the heck out of it in that very Samsung kind of way and made it feel kind of a little bit more normal to either hand over your phone or swipe it around the magnetic stripe area, it might do something.
But Geoffrey, if this is reliant on magnetic stripe technology, we all know about all the sort of the lack of encryption of all the information that is on our magnetic stripes. So is this, I'm imagining a lot of consumers are going to ask, is this less secure than NFC?
Well, definitely if you ask Apple, they would say that their NFC system is more secure for a number of reasons. One, every payment has to be authenticated with Apple Pay with your thumbprint, right? And so they know that you're actually there. With Loop Pay, you have all of the same problems as swiping your credit card, and in some cases more. For example, this case that I have, it can also work if you slip this piece out, and you can just carry that around with you and make a payment with it. But you have no way to know that it's actually Jeff Fowler making this payment. If somebody stole this from me, they could just buy something. The same problem with a regular credit card. So what it really, I mean, it feels in certain ways kind of like a stopgap, right? It's like taking the existing technology and bridging it to the phone, but it certainly isn't moving things forward in terms of security or privacy or some of these other questions.
Do they have an exclusive kind of patent, or are they the only company that can do this kind of thing, that can take advantage of the normal credit card swiping hardware that exists at point of sale systems? Or are there other companies out there that could presumably offer this similar kind of technology to either Google or Apple or somebody else?
That's a good question. I've not seen any other companies taking this particular approach. And honestly, this has been around for a couple of years now, and it hasn't exactly caught on. So I don't know if they have, they've locked up some IP on this. The problem for it until now has been that it's really not that convenient, right? You have to carry around extra technology, to carry around a case or a dongle, and you've got to again convince the storekeeper that you're not trying to rob them by waving your phone around in front of them. So I think that's been sort of the bigger problem until now.
Yeah, it sounds like they've got an uphill battle. I don't think Samsung necessarily has the market share, especially now. I think maybe a couple of years ago it might have, to really make this mainstream. But it's great to see that they're trying to be innovative, trying to compete with Apple and Google. We don't want two companies running away with the whole category. Geoffrey Fowler is at WSJ.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Geoffrey Fowler. Thank you so much for joining us, Geoffrey.
You bet.
Well, we got some more news for you coming up, but first, let's talk about Shutterstock. Shutterstock is the brilliant way to bring brilliant and beautiful images and videos and other visual elements into your website or blog. We're looking at a minute ago at Elise's, the finger painting by Elise's daughter on her fridge behind her, and that's a great search. Let's search for finger painting and see if Shutterstock has anything to offer. Let's say you want to illustrate a blog post with finger painting, and look at that. Yes, it's yes, that's a lot of fingers, a lot of paint, and they're brilliant photos. These are really, really beautiful photos that professional photographers, in most cases, have taken and placed on Shutterstock.com. In fact, you can choose from over 48 million high-quality stock photos, and also illustrations, vectors, and video clips. You can choose individual image packs or monthly subscriptions for the best deal. You can download 25 images a day with a standard subscription. That's what we have here at Twit. We use it all the time. It's way more than we could ever use, and it's very, very affordable. Shutterstock is also a global marketplace. They have multilingual customer service in more than a dozen international countries. So if you're collaborating internationally, then you can use Shutterstock and let them go to Shutterstock itself for the tech support. You don't have to support people internally. They will take care of it. And it's just a fantastic service. And again, I've been using it for a couple of years now, I think. And, people are always asking me, where are you getting these pictures? And, of course, I always tell them Shutterstock.com. No credit card needed. Just start an account and begin using Shutterstock to help imagine what your next project could be like, and save favorite images to a lightbox to review later. Once you decide to purchase, use the offer code TNT215, and new accounts will receive 20% off image subscription packages. That's Shutterstock.com. And for 20% off image subscription packages on new accounts, use offer code TNT215. We thank Shutterstock for their support of Tech News Today. A company called A123 Systems, which makes industrial-strength lithium-ion batteries, is suing Apple for poaching top engineers. The suit claims that Apple has been aggressively snapping up A123 engineers since June. The engineers Apple hired were so good that A123 had to close the projects they were working on, according to a report by Reuters' Deepa Seetharaman. Deepa joins us now to talk about the story. Welcome to you, Deepa.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Now, is this more evidence that Apple's working on an electric car, or could these engineers be useful for existing products like Apple's mobile devices?
I think there are pretty significant differences between how an automotive battery works and how batteries for your mobile device function. Among them, in my previous life as an auto reporter, this was something I delved into a lot. Among the many things among the many differences, there's a quality called rapid release. You need that to basically go. To go from 0 to 60. From a traffic light to actually driving again. That's not a quality or a mechanism that you need in a phone. So there are enough differences like that you can't look at these hires and think that this is just coincidence or this is just to help them develop their broader battery expertise. They seem to be looking for people, at least in these 5 cases, with very specific automotive battery expertise.
Deepa, when it comes to this sort of poaching, obviously these big tech behemoths tend to do it a lot. In fact, there was another lawsuit settled recently in which they were sort of all agreeing not to poach from each other or not set levels above which they couldn't poach. So when you are a car company, when you are an A123, or if you're or a Tesla, for example, and you're trying to prevent this, I mean, is there anything for companies like that to do, or is Apple just too big to not do this sort of practice?
Is Apple just too big not to do in a way to prevent them from poaching, you mean?
Right, exactly. I mean, is this essentially sort of a problem that can't be controlled because Apple is so mighty now? And what sort of protections would you suggest?
I don't know what I could prescribe necessarily. I think that one's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. I mean, obviously the lawsuit mechanism exists, but I think there's a couple of different things at play here. First of all, A123 is a company that has gone through a lot of financial challenges. Since its inception, filed for bankruptcy in 2012, and it's had a lot of issues with automotive battery demand. Lithium-ion batteries were supposed to be the future in 2008, 2009, and they've kind of fallen short of their promise and, in the automotive industry. So a lot of these battery companies are going through sort of financial reorganizations and are under a lot of pressure. So that's one dynamic. And 2 is the talent shortage. We see it here in the Valley when it comes to engineers and people who really understand software. The same is true in the auto industry when it comes to battery engineers. They are very coveted. They are very hard to find, especially lithium-ion battery experts. These are kind of the holy grail if you want to be a battery company or really, develop something that can really work. It's a tough technical challenge, and you need the best people. And so with A123 losing these 5 hires in such quick succession, it's putting the company, a company that's already gone through so many problems, back in sort of a danger zone again.
Just to dig deeper into Elise's question, I mean, it seems to me that they have something of a weak case. They try to paint this picture that Apple was targeting A123 systems specifically to try to recreate their division within Apple and, sort of do this attack on this company. I'm pretty sure that Apple couldn't care less about this company, especially since, as you reported, Apple is supposedly poaching or hiring from so many other companies. I mean, as you said, there's such a limited pool of really high-end battery engineers like this. And if a company like Apple just wants to hire people, they have to hire them from other companies. Where does the line drawn there between poaching and just hiring? How would the courts look at that in terms of what's allowable and what isn't allowable?
That's a really good question. So, I certainly don't think that this is Apple's vendetta against A123, and I actually don't think that that's conveyed in the lawsuit either. But I think the situation here is that Apple hired one key engineer, a guy who's worked in batteries his entire life. His last name is Ijaz, and somebody who worked at Ford and a number of other kind of automotive places, and they've hired him. And what they have is an email in which he's CC'd and another then A123 engineer is CC'd talking about recruitment practices, talking about Apple hiring that particular individual. So I think the issue there is, do you break any rules by leaving A123 and going to do the same exact thing at arrival, does that violate any kind of non-compete clauses, or does that violate any kind of work contracts? And are you barred from then, going back and trying to get your friends to join Apple too? And A123's argument is both of these actions are clear violations of their employment contracts. So it kind of comes down to contract law, and it'll be interesting to see how it's how it's treated by the courts.
Well, Apple didn't sign those contracts, so it seems, again, like, I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV, but it seemed, and I do watch The Good Wife, but still, it seems to me that that they don't have that good of a case, that strong of a case. My prediction is that they will lose the case. But again, don't listen to me because I am not a lawyer, not a legal expert. You can catch up with Deepa Seetharaman at Reuters.com, and you can also find her on Twitter at @DSeetharaman. Thank you so much for joining us, Deepa.
Thanks.
The cloud-based automation company If This Then That, more affectionately referred to as IFTTT, announced today 3 new apps called Do Apps. They're specifically called Do Button, Do Camera, and Do Note. They let you customize and launch IFTTT recipes with one tap on your phone. Sounds very cool. Natt Garun is the U.S. editor for The Next Web and joins us now to explain this new product development. How you doing, Natt?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. Now, can you explain how these new Do apps work exactly?
So initially, the original IFT apps work by kind of syncing up all your web tools together. So for example, if you want to get an alert on your phone every time someone likes your Facebook page, you can kind of automate that in a way where you'll get an email, or maybe your hue lights will change colors. So you can kind of customize the way you get notifications. With the Do apps, they're kind of simplified in a way where you can really focus on the types of activities that kind of occur. For example, for the Do button, you can customize what you want when you kind of trigger that button. So for example, if I want a shortcut that says, if I push this button, that means it's happy hour at my office and I want all my hue lights in the office to turn blue, I can just push that button and it will do that.
Wait. Your office has a happy hour?
Well, I work from home, so happy hour is technically any time.
Okay, I see.
Theoretically.
So you were saying about the Do app. By the way, I downloaded it this morning. This is what the initial screen looks like. I haven't actually applied it, but this is some very colorful stuff. It looks like it might have been designed for children, and I like that. Just my speed. But so as you were saying, now this is obviously a follow-on. These are follow-on apps to an existing product, which also has an app, right? So now IFTTT has 4 apps. Is part of their strategy, do you think, Natt, that they want to sort of gobble up your screen like Facebook does and sort of have the sort of smartphone equivalent of shelf space to capture your attention? Do you think that's part of their strategy?
It very well could be. I actually think that, like many tech companies in the past couple of months have been doing this whole unbundling thing. And IFT is definitely doing something similar in kind of simplifying their functionalities into 3 very basic apps. One that has to do with a notepad, one that has to do with camera, and one that just is kind of a catch-all for any shortcut you want. So I kind of see it in a way less so much about being kind of everywhere, but just simplifying and making it super light for the one functionality you want. For example, I think Google Drive has done this by separating Sheets and Docs and kind of just separating those into 3 different apps instead of one big suite. And I think IFT is basically doing the same by unbundling their functionality into 3 separate apps. That makes it really easy for someone who maybe is not familiar with IFT to get started on trying it out.
You actually bring up a good question there, Natt, which is what is the user base of If This Then That right now? Because obviously it's something that, a lot of us more technical nerds like to use because we need to automate all of the ways that we're communicating. But is this a play for a larger audience? And how big, and if so, how big is the audience for this app in the first place, or this tool in the first place?
Yeah, I agree. I think IFT is definitely kind of more techy and reserved for those who are more familiar with tech. I think IFT over the past couple of years has really expanded to a lot of popular gadgets. You'll see gadgets in Home Depot, like a home energy monitor, and just kind of a lot of different home apps that you may gift to your grandparents or parents for Christmas, and they'll see this whole IFT integration thing and have no idea what this is all about. So I think having this really simple app that tells you exactly how to program makes it a lot easier and more open to a variety of consumers who are, used to kind of just downloading apps and using it on their phone as opposed to buying a gadget, seeing that it's integrated with XYZ app and just not really understanding what that means. So I think that by making the apps kind of more simple and light and easy to use, they're opening the doors to a lot more users that are out there now. And, I think those of us in the tech community have really adopted IFT, but I can only imagine the kind of increase that will go after this app becomes more popular with people who are more maybe like a novice tech user, I would describe.
Now, what do you use it for? I'm just curious.
Actually, the most recent thing we used it for was to set up a notification to email ourselves every time a couch on Craigslist from a certain company below $500 becomes available because we were looking for a new couch. That was actually really helpful because I didn't have to go through Craigslist every day to see what couches are available. And sometimes when good ones come up, they get snatched immediately. So that's really helpful. So instead of going to search, the search comes to you.
In the future, you can just tell IFT to go ahead and buy the couch and have it delivered. And then you can just, the couch will just show up. Just make sure you turn it off after the first couch is delivered. Natt Garun is at thenextweb.com, and you can follow her on Twitter at Natt Garun. That's NattGarun. Thanks for joining us, Natt.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. We'll get some follow-ups for you. A proposed change to U.S. rules around obtaining warrants would allow U.S. government agencies to do remote access searches of computers, tablets, and smartphones, even if their physical location is concealed. Now, right now, warrants can be granted by judges only if the warrant is executed inside that judge's jurisdiction. But if if a suspect, for example, is using technological means to hide their location, they can't issue the warrant. Well, Google opposes this move, and yesterday filed a comment with the government. Now, Google is concerned that foreign governments will be less likely to use or allow Google and other companies, and also that Google users' privacy would be further compromised. Elise, do you have a sense of whether Google will win the day here, whether this will go through?
This is interesting because obviously they do fight sort of on some moral grounds, right, and in defense of user privacy, but also because this is a huge business imperative for them to win. Because should they not, then the real question is how it affects them in say Western European countries where there's already such distrust of this search giant. So this will be interesting to watch. I have no sense of whether they would win or not.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of public, opposition in general to the expansion of the powers to surveil, to issue warrants, and so on. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go along with what the public wants. And this is yet another case where the government's war on terror, war on crime, war on all these other things is kind of infringing on the image of American technology companies, which, whether it's rational or not, are often suspected of harboring whatever these issues are. And usually it's, NSA spying. In this case, it would be, the ability for the government to issue warrants no matter where they are, really. And attempts to conceal location would actually give the government a boost instead of being a barrier to issuing warrants and snooping around electronically and remotely. Well, we got a product update for you. Google will launch an ad-free subscription plan for YouTube in a few months, according to Robert Kinkle, YouTube's head of content and business operations. Elise,
people are willing to pay for these subscriptions.
Yeah, it's kind of a win-win for Google. I mean, it kind of makes sense because, of course, the ad market is fickle and subscriptions are sticky because people sign up for a year and you've got at least a year runway of some really steady income. But do you think people's habits are too closely cemented, and do you think we're too accustomed to advertising to care enough to really pay up and get ad-free YouTube?
Maybe, but this is akin to the question about newspaper paywalls and whether people would pay in order, subscribers would pay to sort of avoid or be able to read more of the New York Times, for instance. And it has ended up being really successful for the Times and other digital properties who have done these leaky paywalls after you have to pay, or where you have to pay for a subscription after a certain point. So it is aimed at power users. So if it is somebody, or if you are somebody who watches a lot of YouTube and are distracted by the ads that are served you all the time, I can see saying, hey, it's not going to bother me that much to pay an annual subscription to have a clean experience.
My fear is that just as cable companies are trying to become YouTube's trying to become a cable provider. I mean, I'd hate to have it be like, you get these packages and you get to watch these different channels if you pay XYZ. So we'll see what they actually come up with, if anything. Google's Inbox, which is a new user interface to Google's Gmail service, has expanded to new platforms. It used to be available for iOS and Android phones and Google's Chrome browsers exclusively. Starting today, new tablet versions for iOS and Android are available. I downloaded the iPad version already. It's very nice, much better than the iPhone version on iPad. And also, it works on Firefox and Safari. Elise, I think last time we talked about Inbox, I asked you if you used it, and you're like, no, I haven't tried it yet. Still, have you tried it?
Well, it's an app it is sitting on my iPhone 6, and I just haven't used it. So
yeah, I love it. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, if you want to get to zero inbox, this is the way to do it because it lumps together certain types of things. So, for example, if you get 1 million calendar invites and you get way behind on your inbox, it'll lump, 30, 40, 50 of those calendar invites into one thing, and with one click of one button, they all magically go away. And of course, they don't get deleted. They're still in there and available by search. But I think it's fantastic, and I highly recommend it that you give it a try.
How do I mass unsubscribe from all these PR newsletters that I'm sent without signing up for? That's what I really need.
There are actually services that do that, and I'll have to do a little research. I don't recall the name of the company that I've used before, but it's actually doable. You sign up for this company and you just say, get me out of here, and it just mass unsubscribes you to everything. So. But be careful what you ask for. You don't know that some things that you don't know are subscription newsletters essentially actually are. So
right.
With great power comes great responsibility. Well, in mergers and acquisitions, the internet and network security company Checkpoint Software Technologies has acquired the Israeli startup Hyperwise for what Checkpoint says is tens of millions of dollars. Could be anything. Hyperwise sprung from Israel's military intelligence and electronic espionage unit 8200. This is a notorious unit. They are one of the leading suspects, if you will, in the creation of Stuxnet, the malware that physically destroyed and set back Iran's nuclear program. Well, Courtroom Drama, the patent troll company InterDigital has lost an appeal of its patent case against China's ZTE, as well as Nokia, the patents of which now belong to Microsoft. The appeals court upheld a decision by the International Trade Commission that 5 methods related to power use and networking did not infringe on patents owned by InterDigital. I don't know if this is a victory for the people who want to oppose patent trolls or not, or if it's just a situation with these particular patents, but it's apparently good news, although InterDigital is also suing separately, and they're probably going to do better in that suit than they did in this appeal. In hiring, firing...
This is all interesting to watch.
Go ahead, Elise.
Yeah. I feel like the systemic problem of patent law and the way patents are regulated has yet to be addressed. And so until then, we're going to continue to see a lot of this courtroom drama.
Yeah, you know, that's optimistic to think that it's going to be fixed. I mean, there's been minor reform that doesn't seem to change anything. There are radical reforms that a lot of people are calling for. For example, you can't patent software. There's an idea, but that's unlikely to happen anytime soon. So I think these kind of cases are going to come. We're going to win some, we're going to lose some, and there you go. Although these guys are total slackers compared to Intellectual Ventures. They win cases. And they've won some big ones recently. Well, in hiring, firing, and poaching news, the White House has named DJ Patil its first ever chief data scientist and deputy chief technology officer for data policy. Patil is a longtime Silicon Valley insider who's held senior positions at LinkedIn, eBay, PayPal, Skype, and the venture capital firm Greylock Partners. Patil will work in the Office of Science and Technology Policy, reporting to U.S. Chief Technology Officer Megan Smith. I don't know what either of these people do. Megan Smith, is the America's CTO, and then this guy is the chief data scientist. I don't think they know what they're really going to do. It seems to be mostly an evangelist role inside the government. I think they run around town and try to convince various government agencies, hey, you should sort of get with the program here and stop using DOS and Windows 95 and join the rest of the world with the modern technology. Do you have any sense there in Washington? I assume you are in Washington right now.
Yeah, I profiled Megan Smith and spoke with her at length about sort of her goals at the beginning of her tenure, not too long ago. Just I guess it was last fall, and it's really interesting that she's bringing in more of her friends from Silicon Valley in there, just because one of her main goals was to try to make government a place that really skilled technical workers actually wanted to work. So government has such a bad rap in terms of being behind that she has a big sort of image shift in front of her, and that's with the remaining years on Barack Obama's term, because we don't expect that she would necessarily stay on the job. So there's that, of course, but then also the big problem with the CTO office is that it's out of the White House instead of overseeing all federal agencies in the way that the UK's government digital service works. And so there's actually little purview for a lot of these folks to be able to implement giant systemic change, but she could work sort of agency at a time, she and Mr. Patil. So it'll be interesting to watch, especially because to be successful, I think in these roles where you don't actually have a lot of people under you and power to make changes at the agency level, because everything's agency by agency and piecemeal, you have to win people over with sort of sheer force of personality and charisma. And if anybody can do it, it would be somebody like her.
They need, if they want to compete with Silicon Valley to attract these kind of people, they need to, step up the perks. Maybe free rides in Air Force One, or, free rides with the Pentagon. They fly everywhere. We'll see how they do with that initiative. Well, we've got some huge numbers for you today. 50,000. That's how many Bitcoins the U.S. Marshals Service plans to auction on March 5th. The Bitcoins were seized in the raid of the online black market site, the Silk Road. The 50,000 Bitcoins are being auctioned in 10 blocks of 2,000 and 10 blocks of 3,000, and bidders must register by March 2nd. And these are going to be a lot cheaper than they were like a year ago because the value of Bitcoins has plummeted. Well, here's another
This is my way into getting some Bitcoin.
Yeah, there you go.
I always ask for Bitcoin for my birthday, which was this week. So if any of y'all want to send me some Bitcoin, just reach out. But I always ask for Bitcoin from all my techie friends that actually hold it, and I never get it. And so maybe I'll just, bid for it in this auction, get it from the government.
I want whatever else they seized from Silk Road, but who knows? Okay, so here's another big number for you, 11 billion. That's the new valuation of Pinterest if the social network's $500 million round of funding goes as planned. The new funding round would double the company's previous valuation. Elise, Hugh, that seems low to me. 11 billion compared to the Instagrams of the world and all these other social networks. I mean, Pinterest is no slacker when it comes to eyeballs and potential monetization.
Exactly. And then its demographic is a really attractive one because it tends to be women in that coveted demographic between 18 and 34. And so, yeah, it seems low to me too.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, here's a number that doesn't seem high until I tell you what the number is. The number is 160. And that's how many dollars Sony plans to charge for a new 64 gigabyte micro SD card starting next month. The price of Sony's SR64 HXA micro SD XC card is about 5 times higher than other cards of the same capacity because the card is engineered to produce less electrical noise when reading data, which is supposed to improve the audio quality of music files being played from it. Sony is really playing into this extreme audiophile stuff. They have really expensive cables. They have something that competes with a Pono player. I have no idea personally whether an SD card can actually improve the audio quality of music files that are sitting on that card. If you out there are an expert in this sort of thing and have an opinion one way or the other, let us know. But at least Hugh, I guess somebody's got to have high-end everything for the extremists.
It's not a bad play, though, as a business model, right? Because you play to the luxury sort of, or the elites of a certain niche, and you get their loyalty forever.
Definitely.
So long as your products aren't bad.
That's right. Exactly. Well, I'm curious to see how they do with that. Well, we got a little bit more information for you, but first let me tell you about ZipRecruiter. You got to hire the right person. I've hired many people in my life, and it's such a great thing to hire the very, very best person. The problem is that employees are scattered all over the internet, and you don't know where you're going to find them. They could be on, on a social network somewhere. They could be on a paid site that you don't have a subscription to. And so with ZipRecruiter, you can go out and with one click, go to 50+ job sites, including social networks like Facebook and Twitter, and Google Plus and others. They have something called the Premium Traffic Boost feature, which can get you up to 3 times more candidates. And this is really a powerful new feature. I'm pretty sure this is brand new, and you really want to try this out if you've been a ZipRecruiter user. And I know that a lot of our listeners and viewers use ZipRecruiter all the time to hire the best candidates. You can use the resume viewer, which gives you resumes in a beautifully formatted, highly readable format, which is more important than you'd think if you're slogging through a whole bunch of resumes. You have custom branding, so you can add your company logo and colors. Makes you look super, super professional. Right now, our listeners and viewers can try ZipRecruiter for free. Plus, get 30% off your first traffic boost by going to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com, and don't forget the /TNT at the end. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. Hire the right person. It's very, very important. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Sandra Pirtle in Honolulu, Hawaii, and she posted this picture on Twitter. And Sandra, by the way, is the first woman to graduate from the Texas Maritime Academy as an officer. So she is a
way to go, Sandra.
Yeah, so she is a person who has made history, and we're very happy to have her as a viewer. Now, you notice that her tablet screen is dark.
That's because you took the day off. You dared to take time off.
Exactly. We were closed for the holiday Monday, and she sat there with nothing but a sandwich and a plate full of pickles and feeling left behind. But sorry about that, Sandra. We won't let it happen next Monday. We will be there every weekday. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, or anywhere, Instagram, whatever, and use the hashtag #HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. And that is the Tech News Today. Elise, Hugh, what the heck is going on with you? I understand from before the show you got your visa. So what's happening?
I'm getting out of the country soon. I'm going to do my last night in America, at least for a while, in San Francisco. Actually, we're going to overnight in San Francisco en route to Seoul next Sunday, March 1st.
If you need any food recommendations, let me know. I'd be happy to offer some. I love the food situation in San Francisco. It's a lot of great stuff going. Well, thank you so much. So, are you gonna be on the show next week, do you think?
Of course, I should. Yeah. Yes, I should still be in DC by then. I might be sleeping on an air mattress, which you won't see, but I would love to do another episode with you, Mike.
Okay, wonderful. We will see you next week then. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
All right. Well, you can subscribe to Tech News Today on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/TechNewsToday. You can choose your favorite way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. And you can watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv, or on the app or browser plugin of your choice. If you're ever near Petaluma, California, the technology broadcasting capital of the world, come on in and watch us live. And you can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV, and check out our Google Plus community. Just search Google Plus for Tech News Today. And you can follow me personally on Flickr. Just go to flickr.com/photos/Mike Elgan. And please send us your thoughts and opinions. Send email to tnt@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW. And don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name is Mike Elgan. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.